Yo, what's up, boys? It's been a little bit since my last video, but it's because I didn't play that much last season, which is also why I didn't get that good of a finish. Last season I only got 3.6k in the world. But right now, in the new season, season 25, Vacation Royale, I am currently top 100 in the world and top 3 in Italy, which is pretty cool. I am one game away from top 1 in Italy, but that's not what we're gonna watch in this video. In this video we're gonna watch early season warrior top 100 ladder, and yeah, I got like kind of a good win streak here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row. Not too bad, not too bad. Let's start with E-Golem, which is a pretty good matchup. And let's see how to win and how not to lose against the cheesiest deck in the game. So this guy, Judge 2 World, is actually using a very old version of E-Golem Barb Hut. I haven't seen this in a long time. I don't know if it's coming back to the meta. I don't think so. I think E-Golem is still pretty bad, but yeah. Usually, I'm pretty sure the old E-Golem deck had another dragon. It had like either Inferno Dragon or Baby Dragon instead of the E-Drag. Instead of the Scaly Dragons, I mean. It did have the E-Drag. But yeah, as you can see, as soon as I recognize that it's E-Golem, which you do immediately when you see the healer, I start playing passive. So here I actually went for the Mortar just to save my Muskie, because I had like a 1 HP Muskie and I wanted it to kill the Scaly Drags. Like, I knew that he couldn't really pressure me here, so that's why I went for that. Like, he can't really go for a push at the bridge if he doesn't have his healer with the E-Golem. So yeah, the Barbat version is actually not too hard to deal with for Mortar. Like, E-Golem in general is pretty easy, but the Barbat version is even easier because you can just snipe the Barbat with the Mortar. It's like a 4 for 7 trade, which is like insane. Yeah, here I actually went for a Scully Barrel just to, you know, not leak. I thought about fireballing that, but it would have been a bad move because the healer would have just healed it back up. And here I tried to go for something ballsy. I went for the Musketeer to like snipe the E-Drag, but it backfired on me because the E-Drag retargeted it and I couldn't fireball in time. If I fireballed if I pre-fireballed, I would have actually killed the E-Drag and we would have had like an insane counter push and I would have won already. But we didn't, and here, to add insult to injury, I missed the King Tower activation. So yeah, pretty big mistakes on my part. And right now I'm like very behind on tower damage and elixir as well. So if these weren't such a good matchup, I probably would have already lost here, because Mortar Bait is a very hard deck to come back with. But you know, I knew that this was a good matchup, so like this was still winnable. I just need to like get one good defense and I basically win on a single counter push. Like, as you can see, defending for him is very hard, like without wasting too much elixir. So we already came back on the tower damage, but as a trade-off, now he has like this insane push for me to defend. The good thing, and the whole reason that this is such a good matchup, is that if you can time your fireballs right and like fireball the golemites, you can basically get 4 elixir out of nowhere and you basically got a free fireball. So all the other stuff that you can hit with it is just extra value. And here I managed to stack 2 musketeers, which is basically when you actually win the game. They were not 2 very good musketeers because they weren't hitting anything and they pretty much just got sniped, but just purely by having 2 musketeers on the field, you're already winning. So my Mortar gets a couple of shots here because he retargeted onto the tower after he killed the hut. And here I pretty much just have to not allow anything to get on my tower because it's almost dead. And I can just fireball his tower here to finish it off. But I don't. I fireball on defense, which very bad mistake. It could have cost me the game. I just didn't see that my mortar got a shot on the tower. Like, but yeah, I should have just fireballed the tower there. I would have won immediately. I just cycled back to another one though, before he can cycle back to his. So very sloppy game. I made a lot of mistakes, but at least you guys can see like how to win this matchup even after making like some huge mistakes, since it's such an easy one. After watching that game, you should pretty much know how to never lose again to E-Golem when you're using Mortar bait. Now for this one, we have a pretty weird deck. It's a graveyard bowler deck, but it's not like your usual graveyard bowler deck. It's a pretty weird one. I don't think I've ever seen this before. It's weird that he has Zappies, and I shouldn't have fireballed them, honestly. I could have been punished very hard if he had Royal Hogs. The reason I did that, though, is because nobody's using Royal Hogs in this meta. So I thought, you know what, I can risk it. I can maybe get away with it. And I could, so it worked out in the end. Right now, like, I'm just very confused. I just don't know what deck he's running. Zappies plus Inferno Dragon, like, I've never seen this before. And when he puts down the bowler, I'm like, okay, this is graveyard. This is either graveyard or Loon, and I'm pretty sure it's graveyard. Because who uses Zappies with Loon, right? But I mean, this guy is using some pretty weird card combinations anyway. So, yeah. I went for a Mortar opposite lane. It's usually not a bad move when you go against the bowler. Oh, and here rewind if you guys want to see that positioning for the Goblin Gang. I pretty much put the Goblin Gang in the one position where it completely counters a Baby Dragon. And I also went for a Skelly Barrel on top of it. So that was a pretty good offense on my part. And since he had to defend that, he couldn't really, support the push on the other lane. So I managed to defend that with 5 Elixir. Which is pretty good because 5 Elixir by itself is just what the graveyard cost him. Here I go for another Mortar. I knew that he was low on Elixir and I just wanted to pressure. And I go for a Musketeer low here because, yeah, he was definitely going to support that. If I had my Knight in cycle, I would have tried to protect the Mortar, but I couldn't do anything with just a Goblin Gang in my hand since he had Valkyrie. Here I just go for another push, and a lot of these matchups against Graveyard especially are just about knowing when to stop pushing. Now you gotta just push the minimum amount to break through. So like as soon as your push is dead, stop going for it. You can go for another push like 5 seconds after. So Mia like letting that Mortar die earlier is what allowed me to connect with the Musketeer after, If I tried to protect that Mortar, I would have just not gotten either of those pushes through. And that's also what I'm doing here. I'm letting this Mortar die, I'm playing stuff in the back, so that I can cycle back to another Musketeer and go for the next Mortar. And this Mortar is the one that's gonna connect. I mean, it doesn't really matter because this guy basically couldn't connect for the whole game. I kept him on the defensive, which is actually what you want to do against the better Graveyard decks. Like if you're playing against Splash Yard, it's a very hard matchup. Splash Yard is kind of a counter. Not necessarily a hard counter, but it's a pretty big counter. And yeah, here you just cycle for a Fireball, and they win. But yeah, in general, against Graveyard decks, you always want to be on the offensive. You want to keep them defending the whole game, because otherwise they can just stack stuff up and destroy you. So that's the second game in a row. For this third game, we had super annoying deck. Double Hot Bait with Rocket. It's horrible. I don't know how I won this. Usually Mortar Bait struggles a lot against double hot decks, because I only have one Fireball, man. I can't deal with that stuff. And it's not like my deck is a beat down, so I can just like overwhelm the huts anyway. I gotta just play it slow, chip them down little by little, and that's very hard when they can just keep playing huts on top of each other. Especially when they do like this guy did. If I remember correctly, like he just played the huts in the back the whole game, which is actually what you want to do against Mortar Bait, so that I can't snipe them with the Mortar and my only answer is Fireball. So I always have to Fireball them. So yeah, very very hard matchup. Usually what you want to do here is try to get as much spell value as possible. Like I went for that log just so I could get that, little Fire Spirit, and that meant that I didn't have anything for these goblins. One thing that I don't get is sometimes when you try to defend a Goblin Barrel with your Goblin Gang, the goblins push one of the barrel goblins towards the tower, so the tower shoots that first. That can throw you off because usually it shoots the goblin on the outside, on the goblin on the inside. That's why I put it there. But yeah, it's just a little inconsistency that I found. I don't know how to deal with that. Here, something very cool happened. I sniped the spear gob, and he played his musketeer like just slightly too early. So my musketeer actually helped kill that. One reason also that mortar bait is very bad against huts is that, as you can see, the mortar shots do not hit anything. So if you want to snipe a hut, or like with your mortar, you gotta get some spear gobs or a musketeer to shoot their spear gobs from the hut, or their fire spirits, you know. So yeah, overall, it's not too sloppy so far. We are keeping the damage lead, which is absolutely what you want. Like, yeah, as soon as you get uh, under in the damage lead, you're basically already lost against hot decks, because then they're just gonna keep stacking stuff up and they're just gonna slowly spell cycle you out. So that was a pretty bad log. I actually put that out because I thought that he would go for a Skarmy, but I don't think he had it in his hand, so that was a pretty bad log. Lucky for me, this guy is dumb, so he didn't go for the Goblin Barrel on the tower, which was very good for me because then I could just defend that with a Muskie. And now this Muskie is just gonna clean up everything else. I think I go for a, yes, Skelly Barrel to tank for that Fire Spirit, because otherwise it would have actually jumped on my Muskie. Yes, Fire Spirits are OP now. Fire Spirits are absolutely OP. Like, they kill the Muskie before you can shoot them, you know. They jump on it, and the Skelly Barrel, the death damage from the Skelly Barrel doesn't actually kill them. So even if a Skelly Barrel dies exactly on top of a Fire Spirit, it will still completely defend it. It's so stupid. Like, a Skelly Barrel can literally kill a bunch of Spear Gobs when they pop it, but it can't kill a single Fire Spirit. It's so stupid. But yeah, as you can see, this guy also has rocket. As soon as I saw the rocket, I started panicking a little. I was like, oh fuck, this guy's gonna spell cycle me, isn't he? So I decided I need to like try to go for a little counter push. I need to go on the offense, because if I stay on the defensive for the rest of the game, which is actually what I was planning to do, like I just wanted to slowly chip him out with fireballs. But like, if I do that, he's just gonna rocket cycle me out. And as you can see, like, he already started doing that. He already went for that second rocket. So his plan was totally to just rocket cycle me out. So I had to go for an offensive mortar. And here I think the mortar, yeah, still doesn't lock onto the tower, which is horrible. It's very bad. I need to like just bring the whole battle at the bridge. I need to like not let any of his stuff through. So here, just log that. His pre-arrows actually helped me out a lot here, because that's 3 elixir less that he has. That was not necessarily a good fireball. I should have fireballed the newer hut, but it's fine because I'm really just focusing on the bridge here. I just want to win the bridge battle so that he doesn't have time to rocket cycle me out. Like, he has to keep defending me pretty much. That's all I want. And yeah, by this point I already knew I had won. I just needed to defend this barrel. So like, since his rocket isn't enough to actually win here, well, rocket plus arrows is, but since his rocket wasn't enough, I knew that I could fireball the Goblin Barrel. But yeah, here he just goes for the aggressive rocket and my Spear Gobs connect. So he had no way to win that. So yeah, very close game, very hard matchup. He fucked up a little bit, that's why I won. I think if he played that perfectly, like, there was no way for me to win that, because he had rocket. And here I actually have a flawless game. I might actually put this on another video if I get more flawless games, like make a little, compilation of 3 games that are completely flawless. So what I mean with flawless is absolutely no tower damage. Zero. Nada. Like, not even the spells. Usually, like, they will spell your tower and then, well, it's not flawless anymore, they got some damage. But no, I actually managed to, stay on the offensive for long enough that he didn't even get a single zap on my tower. But I'm spoiling it a little bit. So this is P.E.K.K.A. Ram, not P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam. P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam is actually the classic one, the one that everyone uses. But this version with the Dark Prince and the minions, So like the Dark Prince instead of the Royal Ghost and the minions instead of the Magic Archer. This is actually one of the Supercell classic decks. I don't know if you guys have ever played one of the challenges, like the classic decks challenges from Supercell. This is one of those, and it's, in my opinion, like the most competitively viable out of all of the Supercell classic decks. Like most of them are garbage. Like Pigs on Parade, who uses that competitively? Like no one, right? But yeah, I digress. This deck is actually a lot easier for Mortar Bay to defend because the Dark Prince is a lot less annoying than the Ghost, and it also costs one more. So like pretty much any defense that works for the Ghost works even better for the Dark Prince, at least for Mortar Bay. So very good for me that he has that. And the fact that he has minions instead of Magic Archer is actually even better for me because I definitely would not have got a Flawless if he had Magic Archer. They can just get so much damage by just putting it at the bridge. Like even here, I have this Goblin Gang, just put the Magic Archer at the bridge, 3 good shots on my tower, no problem. But yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed, at some point he actually started leaking a lot because he thought that we were like the same on Elixir, but that just pretty much gave me all the Elixir back. I had overcommitted a little bit, but he just didn't notice. And here my Mortar actually connects because like the bandit died before he could put the battle ramp down. Sorry, I'm a little at a loss for words by watching this replay. Like here, if I just put the knight down, I would have saved that Mortar, and I would have won even sooner. But it doesn't matter, it's a flawless game, like it literally couldn't get any better. The reason I went for the Mask instead of defending that Mortar is because I wanted to start stacking Musketeers. Stacking Musketeers is when you always play your Musketeer first as soon as it's in your hand, so you can get as soon as possible to your next Musketeer. And that is very useful in a lot of matches, especially against control decks, or like kind of beat down-ish, control-ish decks, like Giant Double Prince, or you know, P.E.K.K.A. Ram, like in this case. But yeah, as you can see, flawless game, absolutely no damage. And here we go against another E-Golem, but this one is a harder variant, because pretty much anything that has Sparky and Rage in it is gonna give you a heart attack against Mortar, like for real. Mortar Bay is not good at defending Sparky Rage. I mean, it's good at defending Sparky Rage if you have the right cycle. But the reason it's so hard is because, well, just a little mistake, like not having your Mortar in cycle, literally just means that you lose your entire tower. So I have lost games before where the only reason I lost is because my Mortar was the last card in my hand. And, you know, they just played Sparky in the back. And what can I do? Am I gonna fireball the Sparky? Fuck no. Well, I am gonna fireball this. So that is actually what I was trying to go for in that earlier match against the E-Golem. I wanted to like snipe it with Musky plus fireball. Didn't work out last time, but it did work out this time, and as you can see, I pretty much got his whole tower as a result. Well, not his whole tower, like half of his tower, but you know, very good, very good. By this point, I didn't know that he had Sparky. I thought this was like a classic E-Golem deck. Since I didn't see the Barb Hut, I thought it was like the Nightwitch version, but no, man, this guy has Sparky. So yeah, here I went for a Musky, I think, yeah, because you know, Musky stacking, as I said, very useful thing. But then I saw the Sparky. I was like, oh fuck, my Musky is just dead. My Musky is as good as dead, and not having your Musky in cycle is exactly what I was talking about, like not having the perfect cycle. That's how you lose a game. So here I tried to save my Musky, but I failed miserably. And yeah, by this point, I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna lock that Sparky. Now I know he has a Sparky. I can deal with it. I can deal with it now. I went for a little push because, you know, now that I know he has Sparky, I know that I can't go for offensive Mortars anymore, pretty much. So I had to keep playing my Sparkies in the back, my Mortars in the back. Here I wanted to activate my King Tower, but I also didn't want to leak, so it was very hard. And yeah, I just fucked up the King Tower activation. I gave him 2 free shots, and here I was very nervous. I was very nervous here because, yeah, like he just NATOs everything together, boom, my whole defense is dead. So this could have been tricky. I could have lost my whole tower here. Lucky for me though, the E-Golem was already low enough on HP that I could get all the elixir back. If I got the elixir later, I probably would have lost my tower. Like the Sparky would have connected for sure, at least for one shot. But yeah, by this point, you can see why the Muskie stacking is so useful. He killed my first Muskie, I already got down to the second one. And yeah, I wanted to wait for the Golemites before fireballing, but it ended up being more useful to not do that, so that my Muskies could kill the E-Drag. Otherwise, both of my Muskies would have died probably. And by this point, I know that, like 3 logs, 2 fireballs kill it. I can't really go for that, but I do it anyway, and it works out. Because, you know, he didn't have that much elixir. Usually you shouldn't go for like 3 fireballs, 3 logs. It's like, he's probably gonna kill your whole tower by the time you get to the 3rd fireball. But yeah, it worked out because I was very ahead on elixir. That's why E-Golem is so easy, because you can get ahead on elixir pretty easily by killing the E-Golem. So in this next one, we got another Sparky game. And let me tell you, Sparky Rage is fucking everywhere, man. I don't know what's up this new season, but I think I faced Sparky Rage more than any other 2-card combo. So yeah, this one is against Goblin Giant Sparky. Very classic deck, probably like one of the most classic Sparky decks. Also one of the most classic Goblin Giant decks. I went for that Fireball again, because, you know, it worked the last time. Why not try it this time, right? If they have Royal Hogs, that can literally lose you the game. Like, don't do that. Don't Fireball the Zappi's first play. That's a very bad play. I don't know why I did that. And here it was just leaking, so I just went for it. I don't know if he lagged or something, but I thought, you know what, maybe this guy just disconnected, so let me get that dub real quick. Turns out, not the case. It was just leaking. And yeah, here I see the Sparky. I facepalm very hard. I actually hurt my nose because I facepalmed so hard. So yeah, you gotta go for a defensive Mortar. I went for a high one because against Goblin Giant, if they know how to do it, they can push it if you put it in the usual Mortar position, so that it bypasses the Mortar, and that's horrible. Here I went for the Goblin Gang. Even if it zaps it, the Goblins are gonna survive, but it doesn't even matter because the Sparky dies. And here I have a little bit of a counter push. I didn't really want to support this, because he probably had like mini P.E.K.K.A. Even though he didn't show it to me yet, like I already knew. When somebody has Goblin Giant Sparky, they usually have Dark Prince and mini P.E.K.K.A. Like both of them. Because it's a very good combo, Dark Prince plus mini P.E.K.K.A. One kills the things that the other can't. And yeah, here I was already hovering the Fireball. Like, they always have Mother Witch, man. Like, the classic one didn't used to have Mother Witch. They used to have Electro Wizard. But of course, Mother Witch is OP, and that's why they're gonna use it. So, like, this guy likes to leak a lot. I don't know why he didn't just play some Zappies to save his tower there. I thought, you know, maybe I'm gonna outcycle him or something, but nah. Like, when you're playing against a Sparky Rage deck, you never want to go on the offense unless you're like counter pushing, because if you're the guy that pushes first, their next push is going to be that much harder to defend. And here, like, I actually made a huge mistake. I fireballed the Spark. That was so stupid. I fireballed the Sparky. That put me in a disadvantage elixir wise, and even like a true elixir disadvantage can cost you the game against these matches, as you're gonna see. Like, he's gonna get a lot of damage here just because I fireballed that Sparky. Very bad idea, very bad idea. So yeah, I tried to save my Muskie for as long as possible. He actually should, like, did you guys see how that Sparky shot my Musketeer? Like at 0 seconds. So I fireball out of desperation. I'm like, please, just 4 seconds, 4 seconds. And it ends up working out in the end. Yeah, I was like, whew, that emote. They're just like, phew, you know? So yeah, I ended up getting lucky in the end, despite my one mistake. And yeah, now we go to the last game, 7th game in a row. Oh damn, it's already been 6 games. Time flies when you're having fun. So E-Golem, Bowler Freeze Graveyard, Double Hut Bait with Rocket, P.E.K.K.A. Ram, E-Golem Sparky for some reason, Goblin Giant Sparky, and the last one is a very annoying deck. This guy has 3 win conditions: Drill, Hog, and Mega Knight. You're gonna see, those pushes are insane to defend. This is one of those decks where you don't want to defend the whole game, because if you defend the whole game, they're gonna just overwhelm you. But unlike the others where you don't want to defend, like giant double prints or splash yard, in this one you can't just attack, because if you just attack, they're gonna ignore you for a little bit and then get a huge counter push and destroy you. So this is a very tricky matchup. Very, very tricky. You gotta like try to, push a little tiny bit so that they can't ignore it, because if they can ignore it, they will, and then you lose. But you don't want to push too much, because if you push too much, then they're gonna defend it, they're not gonna ignore it, and after they defend, they're gonna have a counter push. So it's a very delicate balance where you have to push just enough so that they think they can counter push you. And once they try to counter push you, since you didn't push too much, you actually have enough elixir to counter push them. So like in this matchup, is pretty much the first one to counter push with a big counter push, and with the other guy not having enough elixir, is the guy that wins. Because it's hard both for me and for them to defend the pushes of the other player. So I already made one mistake here. I defended that hog pretty badly. I should have just put a mortar in the middle and then logged. But I had to fireball, so that's like -2 elixir. And the reason I did that is because I did not expect a hog. I thought this was like a classic bridge spam deck, so I didn't hover my mortar. And against hog, when they put it in the right position, you gotta play your mortar very fast. So if you don't have it, either hovered or at least selected, you're gonna miss it. That's why I went for the high mortar, because I didn't want to like miss it. And here I went for another mistake. I played a knight. This could have costed me the game. Like, as you can see, I'm very behind on elixir here. I'm like 4 elixir behind, and they don't have my knight in cycle. So he literally could have just mega knight at the bridge instead of like dark prince in the back, and I would have just lost. So here I have to pull off like an insane defense. How am I gonna defend this? I have no idea. I went for the mortar. I went for the goblin gang, for the goblin drill. And the king tower activation saved my ass so hard here. I even played my log slightly too late. And since this guy was, very ahead on elixir, he thought, I'm just gonna take his tower here. I don't need to defend his barrel. Well, guess what, bro? I pulled off like an insane, impossible defense, and your tower is now dead. Because you just completely ignored the Skelly barrel. Like, Skelly barrel by itself is pretty much the best way to pressure, because they can't ignore it. If they don't spend any elixir on it, then you just take like half their tower with 3 elixir. So they can't ignore it. They have to spend like at least 2 elixir on it. Like at least a zap or a log. And even if they don't spend 2 elixir, like even 1 elixir, like you can defend that with a heal spirit, you can actually defend that with any spirit in the game for like a positive 2 trade. So it's not like an OP card, otherwise everyone will be using it. But if they are focused, like laser focused on one lane, you can just sneakily take an entire tower. That's what won me the game here, pretty much. Because like once you're ahead on elixir, ahead on damage, I mean, by this much, they can't go for offenses anymore, and the matchup completely, turns around. Now I have the matchup, because he's the one that has to be on the defensive. And as I said before, the one that defends in these matches is the one that loses. So yeah, that insane defense, aided by the king tower activation, is what actually won me the game. If this guy didn't have Firecracker, and if he didn't allow me to activate the king tower early, that push would have probably taken my tower, yeah. The push with the Mega Knight. So this is another reason I hate drill. You see that? Just completely nullified my Skelly barrel. And they even lost a musketeer as a result. Like, damn, bro. But yeah, by this point I just tried to go for the fireball log. You can actually kill a tower at 710 HP by just doing fireball, log, and then cycling back to another fireball and log. So that's what I did. He almost took my tower, but of course it was a calculated risk. And that is 7 wins in a row on ladder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for that amazing top 100 in the world and top 3 in Italy. So yeah, yeah, this guy doesn't.